Hi everyone, happy 4th of July to those of us in the United States. I thought I would take today, since I don't have much planned, to do a quick little review, but also a little show and tell of the tarot by Alexander Daniloff. I've been using this one on my Instagram and social media quite a lot the past couple weeks. Oh, there's my cat. And I've gotten a lot of comments and questions about it, so I thought I would just show you guys and give you guys my brief little review of it. This is a deck by a Italian artist named Alexander Daniloff. I have the 2012 edition. It is the second edition. I know there are a couple others before, and I want to say maybe one or two after, but this is the one that I like the best. If you just Google him, it brings you to his website, and in order to order, you have to email him directly. He's super sweet, super nice, super responsive, and very quick to respond, so that's pretty awesome, especially since he is, at least for me, halfway around the world. A few things I love about this deck are the colors, as well as the art, the Renaissance-inspired art. The Renaissance is a time period I feel very connected to. It's one I've always been drawn to, always loved. And this deck, I feel, captures it 100%. It's whimsical. It's whimsical while also being realistic in the same way, and it's very much like I very much get the feeling like you could travel back in time and find these cards and an Italian nobleman's castle or something like that. This is the box that the cards come in. It's nothing too amazing. It's kind of a cool structure. It opens this way. It is very thin though, so I am going to have to get a bag for these eventually because I want to protect them as much as I can. Something that's really cool about this deck is it comes with this extra card. The deck doesn't come with a little white book, so it's kind of open up to interpretation. It's just a painting of a plain white curtain. So if you choose, you could probably use this in your readings. It can maybe represent a clean slate, a surprise, kind of like in the game show where you ask, like, what's behind door number 1? Kind of something unexpected. It also comes with, depending on the tradition you follow, it comes with 2 Justice cards and 2 Strengths cards, because depending on what system you follow, they fall in different numbers in the major arcana order. So I thought that was pretty awesome as well. I was like shuffling through the deck and I was like, why are there 2 of these cards? And I was like, oh, that's why. So it's pretty cool. So depending on the system you follow, you can have your strength and your justice numbered accordingly. Alright, so I thought I would just show you guys the cards individually and kind of give my thoughts and comments as I do so. One thing to note is all the majors are labeled, but they are in Italian, so if you're not 100% familiar with the major arcana, you might want to wait until you're a little more familiar. But the system, it does deviate a little bit from the Rider-Waite-Smith, but for the most part, this is very much a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, so I think it would be good for beginners, despite the Italian labels for the majors. But once you get past that, it's pretty awesome. The Empress, the Emperor, Hierophant, the Lovers. So for instance, this one is void of any sort of archangel, so I feel like it goes with the more the new interpretation of Lovers as opposed to the traditional, but no less effective. It's still a beautiful card. The Chariot. So as you can see here, I use Strength card as key number 8, so that's my Strength card. The Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune. Justice. Again, my Justice is number 11. The Hanged Man. Death. Temperance. The Devil, which is pretty intense. The Tower. The Star. The Moon, which is one of my personal favorites. The Sun. Oops. There we go. Judgment. And the World. So like I said, the majors do pretty much follow the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. As I'm sure you saw, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, like I said, it would, I think, be a very good beginner's deck. It's a little more richly illustrated than the original Rider-Waite-Smith, so if you're looking for something a little more in depth than just the basic, although very beautiful drawings of Pamela Coleman Smith, this might be a good deck for you. So we go into the Wands now. So Ace of Wands. The minors are all very, very, very well illustrated. Some of them deviate a little more from the usual, but again, not so much that you won't be able to pick up this deck and kind of follow along with the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. I feel like any changes that have been made have only added to the deck or added to the meanings and interpretations. Now, as we move into the court cards, I will say it took me a little while to understand the differences because these are not labeled. So, for instance, I think the pages are pretty obvious, but when you get into the knights and the kings, you kind of have to take a look at the surroundings. Oops, because at first I was like, which one's the king, which one's the knight? But I'll show you in a minute here. So that's the knight, queen, obviously. And then all the kings have either some sort of crown on, or they have in the background their castle or their fortress. So it helps differentiate between the knights and the kings, since they are not labeled. So that was Wands. Here we have Cups, the Ace of Cups. Two of Cups. Three of Cups. Oops. For some reason, I really enjoyed this Eight of Cups. I'm not quite sure why. It reminds me a lot of Dame Darcy's Eight of Cups, especially with the water and the seaside and the person walking away and walking along the shore. I really enjoyed this Eight of Cups a lot. And also with this cup right here at the heart in it, it very much speaks to walking away from, a relationship or something that you hold dear, but walking away for your better good. So I really enjoyed that card. The Nine of Cups. A little bit, again, this is an example of it straying away from Rider-Waite-Smith a little bit, but almost having the same feeling and the same, general interpretation that card holds. So again, page, queen, queen of hearts, knight, and then king. The court cards all remind me of the court cards from the Versailles Tarot. Alright. Then we have the Ace of Swords. I love the sword suits. It's very dark, as swords usually are. It reminds me a lot of the Alice deck with the colors and the birds. This, I think, is really interesting and quite beautiful. Three of Swords. The general, interpretation is there, but there's also this engraving of Jesus, which I think speaks to not so much heartbreak as it does sacrifice. So I think that's a very interesting and beautiful interpretation of this card. This guy has been coming up a lot for me lately, just in my general daily readings, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. So we've seen a lot of the Four of Swords lately. You'll notice a lot in the swords that it's dark, it's nighttime. Sort of like the Prisma Visions Tarot, where each suit is a different season, a different color scheme. It's very much the same way with this deck as well. I think this one's interesting because it doesn't so much speak to me of being sneaky or being dishonest as it does fear and running away, for your better good, or running away in fear of what's coming, or in fear of what's lingering, or what you've come from. So it doesn't so much speak to me about stealing or trickery as it does fear. And then this Nine of Swords is very visceral, it's very dark. This is the darkest I've ever seen a Nine of Swords. Where you get the impression that this person's mental anguish is so bad that she's willing to end her life to end it. So it's a very, very dark card, but beautiful nonetheless, but just very dark. And then the Ten of Swords. And we have the Page of Swords. And even the Page of Swords in this deck is sassy. And Swords is a sassy suit in this deck. Knight. Queen. I really like her. For some reason, she doesn't give a shit about anybody right now, and she is over your bullshit. And I just think that's hilarious. And then the King of Swords. And last but not least, we have the Pentacles. I think the aces in this deck are beautiful. They're very intricate, very well done. Sometimes I feel like ace cards are kind of throwaway cards where they just draw like one big, representation of the suit and kind of move on. But these cards are beautiful. I really enjoy this one. I think it speaks less to teamwork and direction as it does to independent study and working on your own, getting things done on your own. So I really enjoy this card. This one's been coming up a lot for me too in my daily readings. And then the 10. Page. Queen. Knight. Look at that hat. And King. The backs of the cards are this beautiful This beautiful design with the sun and moon, hexagram in the middle with the snakes around the hexagram. It is the same reversed and upright, so if you're like me and only read reversals if the deck allows it with the backs of the cards, this is definitely for reversals. My only real qualm with this deck is that the cardstock is very, very thin. It's very thin and almost flimsy, which is a shame because if you follow me on Instagram or read my blog, you know I'm a horrible shuffler, so I'm in constant fear of bending these cards. So I wish the cardstock was a little stronger. They are a little bit they're a little bit thinner and a little bit longer than the standard tarot deck. But that's not really a huge issue for me. I'm just always scared of bending them because the cardstock is so thin. But besides that, I mean, it's a gorgeous deck, and because it comes from Italy and because it's, he only has X amount printed, is a little pricey, but I think it's completely worth it. I mean, it's one of those decks that I feel like after I get over my initial, using it initially to kind of get familiar with it, this will only be a deck I bring out for special occasions because it is so special and beautiful. I don't want to put too much wear and tear in it because it's something I want to have for a long time. So yeah, that's my little show and tell of this deck. Like I said, just Google Alexander Daniloff. It'll bring you to his website, and you can order it directly from there. He's super responsive, super nice. I think I ordered this and I had it within a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. But I didn't have to wait very long, especially since, it came here in Chicago. It came from Italy, so I didn't have to wait too long. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And I will talk to you all soon. Thanks.